Hello, lovely loves. I decided to get on because for some reason my son is actually sleeping in, which is like kind of unheard of for him. But I wanted to get on to talk about the differences between sympathy and true empathy. Because I think a lot of people, honestly, they don't really know what these words point to. Like, if you're using them and you're using them, and true empathy is definitely extremely valuable to all of humanity, to everyone. But sympathy and empathy as what we think empathy is, it's not helpful to either humanity or anyone specifically. So let's take a moment to look up the definition of sympathy. Syn together, feeling, which means fellow feeling. It's the perception, understanding, and reaction to the distress or need of another life form. This empathic concern is driven by a switch in viewpoint from a personal perspective to the perspective of another group or individual who is in need. The issue with sympathy is, first of all, you have to have a perception that there is a need. And okay, someone's drowning. Obviously, you can see that they're drowning. This is not the same thing, because true empathy is so beyond our bodies. Helping someone who's drowning, this is a natural reaction that will happen if you are at all tuned in to anything. But at the same time, let's talk about Jesus. Let's talk about what we know, or what we've heard of Jesus. Jesus could raise the dead. He could heal the sick. Were they in need, or do you think that he saw them as being in need? He had sympathy with them. He saw them for what they were. And what they were was actually exactly like what he is. And that was how he was able to heal them. It wasn't from joining in a sympathetic way. It wasn't a joining or an understanding or oh, I see that you're so in need and in help. It was a realization of, you are the light, you are the way, and I see that in you. And then when they allow themselves to see that as well, they are healed. They heal themselves by realizing who they are. He was just communicating. He was able to see it enough to remove the blocks enough for them, or they allowed him to, really, because there's nothing that he could do without them allowing. And even with sympathy or empathy, you allow yourself to be involved with the other person on their level of where they are, what they're thinking, what they're feeling. If you're going to empathize with someone's feelings, then you're going to be on that wavelength and on that level, and you will feel it. So you decide, and they decided to allow themselves. They believed and trusted in his viewpoint of them enough to allow themselves to be healed, to heal themselves. And that is how true healing occurred. And that is still how true healing occurs. Even to this day, it is still done in that way. If you want to be a miracle worker or a healer or whatever, it's not something that you're doing out of your own volition. The empathy that you're expressing, it's not of you, your little self. It is on the higher level. You are speaking to them from their higher self. Your your highest version that knows all, that's connected to all, is in communication with the same for them. This is not on a weakness level. You're not making their weakness real by sympathizing with the weakness. That when you go down to the level of weakness and trying to triumph over a weakness, you are making the weakness real. This is why God does not acknowledge any of our mistakes or this is why suffering continues. The suffering that we feel like we're in continues because we believe it, but God knows better and doesn't believe it because it can't be true, because He would never create something that could suffer and that could wither away and die. So because it is not real, He does not make it real by involving Himself in it. And this is the same thing with sympathy. Once you make it real, you are now involving yourself in the energy of it. And if it's an energy of weakness, you have now made yourself weak. So if you want to sympathize with someone, you want to make yourself weak in order to understand their weakness. True empathy, however, is very valuable because it is a way to offer your strength and perception and your right perception and your right mindedness to someone who may not have that strength right now because they have blocked it off from their heart. So true empathy is what Jesus displayed. It is what we all want to display because we all want to offer the strength of knowing of who we are to someone who may not remember, who may not know. And we want to offer that empathy, like we empathize because we understand that it is easy to block off. It's incredibly easy to block off. But we want to offer that strength. We want to empathize enough to offer that strength to someone who needs it. And they need it because they don't know that they have it already. Not because it's not there. It's because they blocked it. And I immediately felt the thought, empathy is not what we think it is. And sympathy is not. It is of the ego. The word even is of the ego because you are making weakness real when you have sympathy for someone. When you feel like there's something that they are missing, there's something they are lacking, and you see that. So you've made that real. The reality is, whatever they feel that they are lacking is because they want to lack it unconsciously, obviously. You know, I don't want to lack in any way, but there are ways that I feel like I am because I have chosen that without wanting to consciously, but there's a part of me that's blocking my full abundance. And there's a part of me that's blocking the light even now. And even though I know it is so wonderful that it is completely insane to block, there is still a part of me that blocks. And the same for whoever is watching this, because if you are, then you feel like you're in a separate state at least some of the time, right? So just remind you that you're not alone. In the past, I've felt, I want to feel what they are feeling. And then when I do, I immediately don't want to because it hurts. And I'm like, okay, this hurts, so maybe I don't want to feel this. Or, oh, I taste this. It tastes so bad. It must be what they're tasting because I can taste the feeling of this medicine, and I know that this is probably what they are tasting. And I asked to feel what they're feeling, and now I'm tasting this. But you still allow it because you still decide that you want to know, you want to taste, you want to feel what this other person is in this moment. And then once you can rely on that voice, then you can start to allow true empathy to flow through you. Thank you. Later, loves.